major myths about disruptive innovation that is not true. When you think about disruptions, what comes to most people's mind is the disruptive technology. Most people believe that it's the technology that drives disruptions, and that view, factually or conceptually, is not very true at all. Of course, technology is important for disruptions, but that doesn't drive the innovations. What drives innovations are the value and the customer experience. People embraced Uber because of the previous lousy experience of waiting for taxis. Customers embraced Netflix in the beginning because of that lousy experience of late fees that was charged by other competitors. You need to understand that technology is not the driving force of disruptions. Customer experience is the heart of disruption and disruptive innovations. The technology does not drive the disruption itself, but it only enables disruption. Technology plays only a part in the disruption, but the business model that surrounds the technology actually makes the innovation happen. It all boils down to the fact that the success of a disruptive innovation lies in how well we put a disruptive technology into a greater use. Here's a classic example from Clayton Christensen's book, The Innovators Solution. Cisco's router uses packet switching technology to direct the flow of information over the telecommunication system, compared to the circuit switching technology of the established industry leaders such as Lucent, Siemens, and Nortel. The technology divides information into virtual envelopes called packets and sends them out over to the internet. Each packet might take a different route to the addressed destination, and when they arrive, the packets are put into the right order and opened for the recipient to see. Because this process entails a few seconds latency delay, packets switching could not be used for voice telecommunications. But it was good enough to enable a new market to emerge, what is called data networks. This means when a new technology is developed, intentionally or serendipitously, the innovator must learn to apply the technology to an ecosystem, promising greater value to their customers. Technology can cause disruptions, but the right strategic application of the technology makes the innovation disruptive in the market. To give you a bit more clarity on the origin of the idea of disruptive innovation, let me give you another example. The engineers of Intel Corporation introduced the Celeron process in 1998. But prior to this low-end processors launch, the idea was rejected by the corporation itself. Intel watchful eyes saw the birth of the bottom market developed by AMD processor, which was competing on cost. Understanding the true meaning of disruption in the marketplace rather than technology, Intel brought out the Celeron chip, a cheap product to hit the bottom of the market that was ideal for the new low-end PCs, and within a year it has captured 35% of the market. To Intel's advantage at that time, the CEO of Intel, Mr. Andy Grove, knew the ideas of disruptions from the Harvard Business School professor Clayton Christensen, who suggested the disruption model to Mr. Andy Grove in a very brief meeting. Intel absorbed the real meaning of disruption and what it means for Intel in the long term. The dilemma to whether to serve only the existing market through value addition and neglect the bottom of the market was solved with that small meeting with Clayton Christensen. As a result, the Celeron chip was brought into the market. Later, Christensen released the book, The Innovators Dilemma, in 1997, and it went on to become a colossal bestseller among the management circle. The term disruptive innovation is also coined by Christensen, who formulated his theories and observation from studying the he has conducted on disk drives. He saw that the companies that made 14-inch drives for mainframe computers started off the business by companies that made 8-inch drive for mini computers, and then that 8-inch drive was driven out of business by companies that made a 5.25-inch drives for PCs. The quizzical irony of the observation he made was that the 8-inch drive weren't as good as the 14-inch drives, and the 5.25-inch drives were inferior to the 8-inch drives. Christensen later discovered that the new technologies that has brought the big established companies to their knees weren't better or more advanced companies, but simplified applications. The companies who were enjoying their newfound market success was actually successful due to the introduction of products that were easy to use and cheaper compared to what was previously offered in the marketplace. And being cheaper has so many advantages when it comes to manufacturing electronics and chips. Disruptive innovation starts with creating a new market, and then it progresses towards the mainstream. Disruptive innovation can emerge to serve also a broader market. This is more like democratizing the use of technology that were once only the privilege to the rich and very sophisticated people. Christensen began to call these low-end products disruptive technologies because rather than sustaining technological progress towards better performance, they actually disrupted it. Christensen wrote that great companies fail not because they want to avoid disruptive change, but because they are reluctant to embrace promising new markets that might undermine their traditional businesses that do not appear to satisfy their short-term growth strategy or requirements. A classic example is Kodak, which had the digital photography technology early on but did not want to develop it further because they knew that it would disrupt their photography business, which was their main business.